Hi all, welcome back. So in the previous video, we have seen how to install the Python. In this video, we are focusing on how to install the Visual Studio Code, because for our upcoming videos, we'll be using Visual Studio Code as the code editor. So before that, I want to clarify one thing. So we have Visual Studio Code and we have Visual Studio Azure. Both are different. Don't get confused with the word Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio. So I have created a slide to show some differences between Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio. Both are actually products from the Microsoft only. In case of Visual Studio Code, it will actually support Windows, Mac and Linux. But in case of Visual Studio, it will support only Windows and Mac only. So if you want to do something in Linux, the only option you have is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is comparatively new. It is launched in 2015 only. Visual Studio Code is launched in 1997. So Visual Studio Code is free. We'll see how we can download and we can use the Visual Studio in a few minutes. As well as in Visual Studio, there is a community edition and a paid edition is there for enterprise and for companies and all. So for some companies prefer only to use Visual Studio if they want to have some rich experience. There are a few companies which are using Visual Studio Code only. And if you see, both have different purposes. Visual Studio Code, it is not an integrated development environment. We cannot call Visual Studio Code as an IDE. It is more of a text editor with different extensions for different codes. For our purposes, for us to build the code in Python, for us to do the agentic testings, for especially if you want to build some UI path coded agents and all, Visual Studio Code is enough. But if you, let's say that if you want to build some applications in Windows and or WAF, or if you want to get some rich experiences, there are pre-built templates available in Visual Studio, which will be more easy and convenient to use when it comes to Visual Studio compared to Visual Studio Code. So I'm not explaining much on the concepts or differences between Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio. I hope you understood the differences. So the language is supported in Visual Studio Code. So for us, we will be utilizing the Python. But there are different languages, not just limited to what I have listed here. There are many languages supported by the Visual Studio Code. By default, it will support only few languages like JavaScript. But with the help of extensions, we can actually get the support from different languages. Okay, now let's see how we can install the Visual Studio. Let's go to the browser. Type for Visual Studio Code, download. Click on the link. You see here we have options to download for Windows, Linux and Apple. So let's download for Windows. So it will take some time. It is downloading the executable file. Double click on the executable file. You can go through these details. Click on accept, click next. Create a desktop icon. These two options you can select. Click on next, click on install. It will take some time to install the Visual Studio Code. Okay, so it will take around like 1 to 2 minutes to complete the installation part. And now we'll click on the finish. Since we have selected launch Visual Studio Code, it will launch by default. Click on finish. Okay, if you see, this is Visual Studio Code. If I close this, if I want to open the Visual Studio Code, either it will have created a shortcut in the desktop. If you want to open Visual Studio now, either you can click on this shortcut, or you can actually go to Start menu and search for Visual Studio, and you will still see Visual Studio Code here. You can click on that one and it will open the Visual Studio Code. So that's all for today. We'll explore more in the next video. Thank you.